Imagine running your own AI-powered e-commerce website? That sounds very exciting. In this video, I will show you how you can build the foundation of an intelligent e-commerce platform. So we are going to build a backend system that will have different APIs which will support the store operations. For example, on your homepage, you might be presented with some images that act as a banner. You might be seeing the hot selling products or maybe some suggested products based on your previous purchases. You will be able to grab the product details, inspect what's the price, and then add that item to your cart. Next up, when you click on checkout, you will be presented with an order summary page for you to confirm, and maybe you can also add some comments before you place your final order. And then completing an order, ta-da! So we are going to create an ASP.NET Core Web API that will have the different endpoints. And what are those endpoints? Let's jump in. So we'll go to Visual Studio. So the tech stack for this project will be that on the backend, we'll be using ASP.NET Core, and then on the front end, we're going to use any framework like React or Next.js. So we'll pick ASP.NET Core Web API from the project templates, and we'll get started as store backend. Next, we would like to configure the store or this backend for the HTTPS. We would definitely like the container support, definitely like OpenAPI support, and we like to use the containers. So let's get started. And there we go. A quick overview of the solution. Over here in the controllers, we have weather forecast controller, which we are going to delete in a moment. In the app settings, we have few app settings like what will be the logging level and so on and so forth. So let's get started. First of all, cleanup. So we'll start with the cleanup. All right. So here's your surprise. I'm going to use Github Co-Pilot all along this so that I can also elaborate that you can use Github Co-Pilot as your pair programmer and present it to you how easy it is with AI that you can solve the problems, you can write code, and you can have a stunning system created in just few minutes or few hours rather than days. We want to get the app settings. For example, the settings like what is the minimum order and what is your store name, what is its URL, and if you allow cash on delivery orders or you would like the credit card only orders. So for that, I'm going to place, before we jump to GitHub Copilot, let me create a new folder over here. I'm going to prepare an already prepared JSON files that have some sample JSON into it so that I can save your time. I'll call this app.json and we'll have this content. Now look at this. We have a store ID. This is a GUID. Then we have a chain ID. We are naming our store as shopping store number 1. The chain is, let's say, the shopping stores. Minimum order, let's say it's just 30. And for now, we just have one store, but in future, maybe we'll have more than one store. So I've just added shopstores.com, and we can just have different store URLs like 1, 2, 3, and so on and so forth. What is the URL for that store? And maybe if we want to display the digital coupons to customers, and if allow cash on delivery is on or off, let's turn it on. So we are going to ask GitHub Copilot to create an endpoint which was app settings. Use this JSON and then give us an endpoint that will return this in the response. So let's get started. Maybe I'll go to program.cs, and the prompt would be create an app, or maybe app settings endpoint in a new controller. You can call it, let's say, app controller. That will, and the endpoint will be a get endpoint. So that will return data like this. And actually in the upcoming, I'll just change it, or maybe let's change it like right here. That will return data like data slash app.json. Let's see what it can bring in. There we go. Let's inspect what it is creating. So it is, so there we go. So it is creating an app controller that has an endpoint called settings. It is going through this folder data and then looking at this JSON file, reading all the text, and then it is returning it. There we go. So we'd like this to be saved in the controllers folder. So we'll just save that one. There we go. Now let's try to run it. So we got our first endpoint. We can try it out. And there we go. We got an endpoint that returns the store information, like the store settings, and we are good to go. See how easy it would be to create the different endpoints. Now we want to create an endpoint that would actually return the home page stuff. For example, the slider image URLs, the hot products, and the hot categories. So this endpoint, we'll call it home endpoint. So we'll ask Github Copilot to do it. But before that, we need to import what sort of structure we would like it to use. Now I have added a few data files as JSON into it. Obviously, for future, we'll actually convert these JSON files to their database. But for starters, our focus is to focus on AI, and our focus is to understand how we can leverage it to create a backend. So I'm not going to complicate this by adding the database and the other stuff into it, which we can add. If you guys would like, I can record a separate video on that. So let's create an endpoint that will give us the homepage data. And it should be able to read the information from the products file as well as the categories, because from the products, we'll have a few products that are featured. We like them to be presented on the homepage. And then for some of the categories, we like them to be the categories which are featured. We like them to be presented as well. So let's ask GitHub Copilot, create an endpoint, get app options. You can call it whatever you want, maybe home or anything, that returns 3 key things. Let's say number 1, banner images, list of image URLs. Please add 3 images to it. Number 2, hot products. Read the JSON from products.json and filter for the featured products and respond back. Number 3, hot categories. Again, same thing as list of product as list of category. So we need 3 key things from here. So let's get started. All right, let's have a look. What are we going to get? So what have we got? The banner images. We're getting a slight error over here for JSON convert. Let's check it out. So for this JSON convert, we may need to add a NuGet package. Let's say Newton Soft. Let's add it to our project. And then back over here, we can actually read it. Actually, I'm not happy on how it is getting the hot categories. So let's adjust it. Read the categories from the categories.json file. We want to implement a product search endpoint that will take a term and then it will respond back with a list of available products. So let's ask Github Copilot to actually create one for us. Let's see, I want to just create a new controller myself that we call it as products controller. And if we come over here, products, and then I'll take all the jargon under it. I'll just remove this. And now I'll ask GitHub Copilot, create an endpoint that reads data slash products.json, parses that into a list of product, then based on the I think we need to tweak the name of the endpoint. We call it, let's say, get products search is equal to term. So term will be a key string parameter. Next up, once we got all the stuff from the products, we can actually then, based on the name of the product, filter the products and then respond back. Let's see, what do we get? So here we go. So we got an endpoint that takes a search term, then it reads through and finds this file, JSON file. It deserializes that object into the list of products. Then you got the products. Afterwards, you can filter those products by the search name. You got the filter products, and that's it. I think it made a mistake, but let's see. So this is our product, and I can clearly see that we got a product class like this, which I don't like. So maybe what we can do is I can create a models folder. I can add a new class. I can call it product. And once I have JSON, this JSON on my clipboard, I can actually ask Visual Studio to please create a JSON class for me. I'll call it as product. Now in the products, I'll just ask it to use this. Actually, I'll need to take out this class as we don't need it. We got some error. So fix that one, because now the products class comes from the models folder rather than the app folder. And I'll also move this categories class as well. So there's no concept like app controller product. And that's it. And the endpoint should be called what? That's great. The endpoint should be products/search, and then it will have a term. So I'll just rename this to a term, and there we go. Now we got a problem over here that we got also this category, and it is actually not getting the stuff quite well. So I'll be also creating another class called category.cs, and once I have the category object on my clipboard, once I have that categories object from JSON as a clipboard, I can ask it to create classes for me. There we go. We got the category now. Now I'm going to remove this category from the app controller. It might get an issue or maybe not. It builds fine. Let's go straight to it. Now we can search for, let's say, chocolate. Do it. Oh, we got nothing. What's wrong? Let's check it out. Did we got any chocolate products? I think we do. So let's see, why did it not work? Oh, I know why. Because it is doing a case sensitive search, right? So what we would like is that the term to be lowercase. Whenever we do the comparison, we try to do the comparison with the lowercase on both sides. So it doesn't matter if you are searching for C with the caps or C with the lowercase, it's still a chocolate. So let's check it out. Try it out. There we go. We got our products in. We got the products that match that chocolate search term. So that's great. Another endpoint called product/get product. So let's create an endpoint that reads products from the data/products JSON, and then it gives us a filtered product that matches that product ID that we'll get in the route. So create a get/products endpoint, and let's say /ID that returns the filtered product from a list of products. There we go. We got a new project. We got a new code in. So the endpoint is products/ID. We are reading from the products JSON. We're passing that into a list of objects. If we find a product, we get that one and we return it. If the product is not found, then we return a not found. Sounds great. Oh, I think we'll need to add it based on a product ID. So here we go. Next endpoint, products under a category. So you want to get the products create an endpoint that gets the category ID as parameter. Endpoint is called what? Get/products/category/ID enters the list of product from the JSON that the list of products that match the category ID. Let's see, what do we get? Reading the stuff out, it sounds great. It looks great. So let's test it out. So first check, what is our products? There are different products and they also have a category ID, let's say 996. So let's check it out. Six, here we go. And if I give it some raw data, I don't get anything. Now let's focus on the cart section next. So on cart, we should be able to add some items to a cart. So let's create a controller for it. I'll copy and paste this and say cart controller. And obviously the purpose of cart controller and the purpose of cart controller is actually to handle the operations like adding items to a cart, getting the cart items, as well as preparing a summary for the order summary page that will list all the products that you have added to your cart, and then also some totals. So the first endpoint is add an item to cart. So let's say we ask Github Copilot that this would be the type of request that we'll give to an endpoint that will be post/cart, and it should add this into, let's say, some sort of static class or some sort of storage. For time being, let me create a class called app data store, let's say. And what it has is it has a list of cart items. So let's add this class cart item, which will have few properties. I actually have prepared this class for you, so I'll just paste it over here, and it will, and the data store will actually maintain a list of the cart items. So let's do it like this. Oh, I pasted twice. We got it sorted. So now the cart controller should be able to add items to it as well as remove items from it. Create endpoint post cart that adds cart item to app data store.cs. There we go. A very basic endpoint. And next up, we want to get all the items that are already in the cart. So create a get endpoint that will return the list of cart items. Amazing. Now we got the get endpoint. Now we'll also want that when you are on the order summary page, we should be able to get the order summary. Create an endpoint that creates a total for cart, e.g. cart items. It can multiply price with quantity and return totals like subtotal, discount, tax maybe, and also grand total. Endpoint can be get slash cart slash summary. Okay. Let's take it out. So what it is doing, it is looping through the all cart items, it is getting the item total, and then it is preparing a summary. And then it's returning it. Sounds very exciting. Oh. And we also got that clear card. So that's amazing. So thank you for following along. So as you have looked, it's very easy to use GitHub Copilot as well as the AI power to create an amazing backend for your system, for your e-commerce platform. Okay, so let me demo it out. The first endpoint, app settings. Let's see if we get it working. Oh, we got an error. Let's see what it is. Actually, we don't need this trailing slash as we already have it. And there we go. We got the app settings that has a store ID, the shopping store. Then there we go. So the first endpoint, app settings, we got it. Next one was, I think it was called home. Let's try it out. There we go. This will return us the banner images, the hot products, and then hot categories. Next up, we should be able to add items to our cart, which will do it like this. So it returned with an OK. Well, let's try to get what's in our cart. There we go. And since we have one item with a quantity of 2 and a price of 25, let's see what the cart summary looks like. Oh, great. It got the subtotal of 50, but it didn't got the grand totals. So let's adjust our code. So we can ask it that grand total is a sum of subtotal plus tax minus discount. Very easy. Subtotal, discount, and then the tax. Okay, now let's check it again. There we go. We got our cart summary endpoint. Let's create a categories endpoint that will return us the categories. So I will call this categories controller. Oops. Categories, and it should be very similar to how we did in the products controller. So I'll just grab this stuff and I'll just paste it over here. Oh, wait a second. So this is an HTTP GET, so we don't need to add anything else. Next up, it needs to go and find the categories.json file. Next, it needs to parse them into a category class. The category class has properties like this, which we will sort out in a minute. And then actually, that's it. So these are categories, and there we go. Oops, the endpoint was named incorrectly, so I'll adjust it. get categories, the action method. It should be good now. And there we go. So we got the different categories, the different subcategories under each. For example, fresh meat and seafood has beef and bison, chicken and turkey, and this is a featured category, and so on and so forth. Okay, let's try placing an order. Oops, we didn't create a order endpoint. So let me do it again. So the purpose of this endpoint is to actually add some orders to the App Store. So let's create, and we already, oh, we don't have an order.json, so I'll just add it, or maybe we don't need it, so I'll just add over here, and I'll just create a class called order.cs. There we go. I think we don't need this product redundant class, so I'll take that one out. I'll rename it to order. There we go, our shiny new order. So here we would also need a list of order. We can say as orders. That will be a new list of orders, just initializing it. And now on the order controller, just like we were adding items to a cart, we're just doing more or less like it, but with two additional things. Number one, first of all, we'll be adding that order to orders, and the endpoint will accept an order JSON payload. And in the response, over here, I think we need to generate an ID for an order. Since we don't have database quite yet, so I'll just ask it to create a random integer under 1 million and call it order ID. There we go. And this is called order. There doesn't exist a property of order, so we'll create one. So this list needs to be static. And that's it. Now we'd also need an endpoint that gets the order detail. So HTTP get order, it gets an ID. Just like we had that products controller endpoint, we'll have it in the curly braces, just like this. We'll accept an integer as order ID, and then we'll filter the order where order equals. There we go. Thanks to AI, we're getting it. And over here, we'll return it. And that's more like it. There we go. We got the order, but we didn't got an order ID back. So let's adjust it. Let's create another order. This order number is 845 481. Oh, we are getting a lot of orders. Congratulations. Now we can get that order information so that we see the order summary page once the order checkout process is complete. So let's try to get it. And there we go. We got our order that was placed for this fulfillment window. It was a pickup order. We required a cash on delivery. It had some products like some product to it. It was 47.25, and then there was this current total as well, and the order ID was 845-481. So that's it. So you look how we created a brand new backend system for our e-commerce platform. Please stay tuned as we'll be creating some more videos on how we will be integrating this backend system with a front-end system. And we're going to build it in React. Once the initial store setup is complete, we are then going to integrate the AI features like starting with the product search. I'll see you in the next video. Bye bye.